Hello, everyone. Welcome. We will give folks a few more minutes to jump on. So we will be with you probably just right at or slightly after 3 o'clock.
Thanks, Katie.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Regional Youth Racing Experience webinar. We are happy to have some of you joining us live today. We know that oftentimes it's helpful for us to record these and put them online, share the link so that people can watch them at their convenience. So that is our intent with this as well. If you are participating in this live, we are so happy to have you. If you are listening to the recording, please shoot us over your questions to the youth department, and we will have contact information for y'all at the end. My name is Katie Reynolds. I'm the Director of Youth Development for AQHA, and the purpose of this particular webinar is to hopefully share some of the history, some of the resources, and then help you all feel empowered to understand a little bit more about the national youth racing experience, and then how we can all work together on the regional youth racing experiences to bring youth engagement in at a little bit more of the local level. So this is just a starting point for what we hope will be, a very proactive, ongoing conversation with our membership about this. And that's why we called it 101. This is just the start. What we will be talking about today, to kind of allow you all to share some expectations, will include our youth racing experience. That's the one that we consider the national level program. As I said, and as you're well aware, the regional racing experiences, we'll dive a little bit into event planning and what an itinerary may look like. The educational materials that we have available for y'all at your convenience in the office. Some of the outreach and marketing strategies that are helpful to us, and how they may apply to you all at the regional level. And then, because we know that not everything we do at the headquarters is going to be exactly the right fit for y'all, I'm hoping that that this will spur some discussion among y'all at the affiliate level, either here on this call or going forward. So we have a few minutes built in for some discussion if that's of interest. And then finally, as I said before, some contact information. Before I get any further on the start of this webinar, though, I introduced myself, and then I also have on the youth department side joining us today is Helen Hardy, our manager of youth development, and she will be walking us through some of the details of the event planning, itinerary materials, and all of that. And then we have Julia Bastian, who does our youth outreach, and she is going to help us with her knowledge of our materials and our outreach and marketing strategies. So with that, Janet, would you like to introduce yourself and anyone from your team who's on?
I'm happy to. Thank you. I'm Janet Van Beber. I am the Chief Racing Officer at AQHA, but previous to serving the industry in this role, I trained horses for many years. And when we started this program back in 1998, I had a kid in my barn, and most years that followed, because I was always very active in the Challenge Championships, and I would get a kid or two to help foster through the program. So I'm super passionate about it, and I'm super excited every year when we get to have our national program at the Challenge. And we like to do everything we can do to make it grow so that we can touch more kids and teach them about what we do in the racing industry. And then I'm going to pitch it to Dana Behe, who's also on our team, and she can say what her role is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Janet. I am a marketing strategist for AQHA. I specifically work with the race department, and I had the great experience last year at the Challenge Championships. I got to shadow the youth racing experience a little bit and see what it's all about, and it's such a fantastic opportunity. I'm really excited to assist with marketing this. And we also have Riley here, who is a marketing strategist as well for AQHA, and she's working with me directly on some of the race-related items and is here to learn all about the youth racing experience and how it works. So, all right, Katie, I'll toss it back to you.
Perfect. Glad to have everybody on. So let's talk a little bit about the AQHA youth racing experience, which is, as I mentioned, what we consider the national level experience and what Janet alluded to a moment ago. So this is a program that we manage annually in the youth department, where we try to give youth members the opportunity, as it says, to participate in the American Quarter Horse racing world, and to give them a great variety of experiences over the span of a few short days. And so what we require is for youth to be 16 years old at the time that they travel for that event. And of course, they do need a current AQHYA membership. When participants are selected based on a variety of criteria, they receive an all expenses paid trip to the Challenge Championships this year. And for the last couple of years, it's been in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This year, we are looking at October 16th through the 19th. And as Dana said, it is really a fabulous program. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be involved in it. In fact, we consider that the trip itself, especially since it is an all expenses paid trip, and we on staff provide the chaperoning, all the event coordination, the transportation, everything. We make it completely turnkey for families. That trip is a prize itself, and we consider it to be really something special that AQHA provides to its youth members as an opportunity for those elite few that are selected each year. The scholarships and prizes for that program, which are paid to youth who do travel on that all expenses paid trip, are awarded based on a combination of their application, how well they perform during an in-person interview on site, their scores on an open book test that we call a skillathon, and their willing and capable participation throughout the program. So really all in, this is something that the association invests in heavily at every step of the way. It's pound for pound. I think it's really one of the richer programs we offer when you look at the investment, and we are so happy to do it. We want to make sure that racing has that next fantastic generation of horse enthusiasts, professionals in the industry, and the ways that racing offers a variety of entry points is really, really interesting. And every year when we travel youth, they are just always so impressed and really enthralled by the opportunities that surround this very vital part of the horse industry. But to get youth to that national program, we are hoping to engage our affiliates more to feel comfortable and feel empowered to hold these regional racing experiences more often. So that's where our affiliates will come in to help grow the interest at the local level, so that these youth members are prepared and their families are aware, and that collectively they're interested in becoming part of racing. And this is, sort of similar to how we approach our other youth programs, in that people need a more local stepping, or local step. They need more of a stepping stone to help usher them into any part of our industry. So we are very excited about this. I think the best way to look at this slide regarding regional racing experiences would be that these are kind of how we currently have interpreted or recently interpreted the regional racing experiences. So these might be goals or kind of a jumping off point for racing affiliates. However, I will note that there is certainly unlimited opportunity to make these events work for y'all at the local level and to interpret activating these events in whatever way you think will work best for you. So with that caveat, the traditional view of a regional racing experience would be to offer just a local behind the scenes view of racing, to provide some educational and involvement opportunities, and to really kind of tell the story of what American Quarter Horse Racing is about within that racing family and that part of our world. Certainly the involvement of the local affiliate is critical. We can't do this at a local level in every area without your help and involvement. And yes, we hope that it does increase the interest in the AQHA youth racing experience. But really, this is going to be, and really, I think from a youth development standpoint, it is important to develop individuals, but it also requires some engagement of larger numbers, because we know that we can find those generational talents. We can find those people that will lead our industry going forward, but we do want to look high and low for them. And we do want to keep numbers that are needed for our industry to be healthy. So we hope that with all of us working together, that we can take advantage of the local level involvement to build that ladder into racing for a lifetime of involvement and achievement through the association. As I said, this could certainly be tailored to your region and interests. And when we talk about organizing and executing these events at a more regional or, as I say, local level, we never want you to feel like you are alone in that. We already have and have provided in the past, are happy to keep doing so, some support materials to each regional experience. So we have a variety of educational materials. We've got sample itineraries that Helen is going to kind of touch on some of those. We can supply an example of scoring rubrics, and we are happy to work with you on whatever else you may dream up or that you may see would be helpful either to your affiliate or to other organizations that may be interested in doing these. So with that, I think let's go ahead and dive in to what planning one of these events can look like. And that is definitely Helen's realm. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Thank you, Katie. I'm so glad to have you guys joining us or listening to the recording. Again, I'm just going to repeat what Katie said. This is all our examples and things that we take into consider and we hope is helpful when you guys are starting or revising or kicking back up your regional racing experiences, but they can be so customizable to what you want to get out of them or what you have available to you. So please, take pieces of this as they apply to you. But this is definitely not you have to do X, Y, Z for it to be successful. These are just kind of some guiding principles and things to consider. So as you're getting started, whether it's a brand new event for you or your affiliate, it's something that you hosted a number of years ago, or you're looking for a facelift of maybe a pre-existing event, what we feel like are things to consider. And this, I'd say the top few points are probably the most important. And then there's really no rhyme or reason after that of why they're listed in that order. Importantly, date and location. Where are you going to have this event and when are you going to have this event? Of course, we host ours with the Challenge Championships. But look at your local track. When are the quarter horse races happening? If you want it to be a quarter horse focused event, are they on a weekend? Are they in the morning? Are there things to do in the morning? Is there things to do in the evening? Is it during the summer? Is it during the fall, the spring, whatever that kind of looks like for your area and your season of racing, to keep in mind with the second bullet point of target audience. Is this event going to be in all ages? Is it an open to anybody who's interested type of event, or is it limited to a youth? Is that your target age? And within the youth, as I think we can all agree with, is that an event for, say, an 8 or 9, 10-year-old is going to look way different than an event for a 16, 17, 18-year-old. So is it an all-age youth event, or is it kind of your older, maybe your teenage youth that you're targeting for this? If you are doing this as a youth event, which I anticipate most people would be doing this, just keeping in mind what that looks like with their school schedule. If you are planning this during a weekday, are youth going to be able to get out of school? Will there already be a holiday that weekend that they might be able to take advantage of coming to the regional race experience? Are you able to excuse them from school? Do you have something, an agreement like that in your area? Or would it be a weekend to have the best opportunity to take advantage of the races and the track happenings and the youth being out of school? The next piece to consider is what type of registration or application are you going to have for this event? Is it a come one, come all, we'll see you there? Would you like to have pre-registration so you know about how many people might be coming? Or is it an application process? Is it a limited number where you might receive more interest than spaces available, where you're going to have to sort through what that application or who those individuals are going to be that will be invited to this event? We would recommend at least doing a pre-registration. If you're not sure about any interest, but you just want to kind of welcome everybody, a pre-registration can be really helpful to start your contact list, to send reminders to, and to have an idea of how many people might be attending. We've done that at a few events for AQHA that are open events, but we still ask for pre-registration just to give us a better idea for that planning. And if you are looking at a limited number of spaces, so you have 10 youth that could participate and you get 15 that are interested, you're going to want to know ahead of time what you're going to do as you advertise for this event. If it's going to be an application, what you're looking for on that application, who might score that application, and how is it scored to have those 10 selected participants from those 15 applicants. We do have some scoring rubrics that we can provide to you all, and happy to provide guidelines for what that application could look like. We always like to hear a little bit about what that program means to the youth who's applying. So whether that is from our office here in Amarillo, whether they're applying for a leadership position or they're applying to the national racing experience, or they are applying to the Young Horse Development Program or a travel grant for the Youth Excellence Seminar, we want to hear what that would mean to them or what their involvement in that industry and get to know that youth a little bit through that application. We personally, as best practices here in the youth department, do not score any applications or review. We will make sure they are complete and all the materials that we require are captured within that application and submitted on time. And we utilize our Youth Activities Committee to score those applications. And for the National Racing Experience, we also use some racing committee members as well to review those applications. So that's something else to consider, to kind of take that burden and responsibility off the organizer to send it to maybe members of the racing affiliate or racing people who are involved in the racing industry in your area that would be happy to review those applications if that's the route that you choose to go down. A few other items to consider are going to be your chaperone requirement. If this is a event where parents are just coming to drop their kids off, or are they expected to stay with their child throughout the event? Again, we hold events that can do both. We have one where they do need a parent or guardian to come with them for the duration. That would probably be if you have like an open event, that might be the best format, versus if they're going to drop them off and the organizer will serve as that chaperone for the youth while they are with you for that event. Our best guidelines, our best practices that we abide by when we are hosting events is that we have, or when we ask for chaperones for events, you are welcome to ask for chaperones. We do that with our Youth Excellence Seminar. We do not chaperone all 150 youth that attend the Youth Excellence Seminar, but we do ask that there be a chaperone on site. So one way or the other, either establish yourself as a chaperone as the event host or their parent or somebody else who will be there all day. We try to stick to a ratio of about 8 or 9 youth per adult, just to make sure that there are enough adults available to help in the event that something happens. And then also, we always try to keep any event never be a like one-on-one experience with a youth and an adult. So if there are opportunities to split your groups, and we'll go into this in the next couple slides, your different tour stops into different areas. So make sure it's a large enough group that they're never going to be alone, or youth is never put into a situation where they're alone with adult or vice versa. And those are just best practices that we like to keep with our events here at AQHA, and just things to consider. Another item to consider is going to be the cost to attend or to participate. This is going to vary again by what type of event you're holding, if it's an open event that's free, or if there does need to be an application fee to apply, or if that youth will be responsible for covering their meals or their transportation, whatever that could look like, or if you have sponsorships. So seeing what that costs to attend or participate, making sure that you're covering your costs, either through passing that along to the participant or by getting sponsors to help underwrite this event or through your affiliate. Length of the event is another thing that could vary wildly. Our events are multiple days at the national level, but we have seen from regional experiences in the past that these are typically a 1 or a 2-day event. It could be a few hours or it could be all day. If you're looking to start this up from scratch, a few-hour event in one evening might be an easier starting point than jumping right in on a 2-day event. And if the 2-day event, jumping right in from the get-go, is your style, then absolutely it can be done. And we do have the support to give you on that with itineraries that would reflect a multi-day event. Your marketing of the event, I am not going to steal Julia's thunder. She's going to go into depth of that in a few slides. But another thing to just kind of put on the checklist of your marketing of the event. And then if you're going to award any prizes or any tangible awards, as Katie mentioned, we see this experience as a prize in itself. So don't feel the need to offer any prizes, but don't be surprised if you hear of other regional events that might offer some prizes or some scholarships or an award. If you do want to offer that, if that is within your scope and your budget, that would need to be considered of how you get to that prize. Who wins what prize? Is it everybody who's participating? It's the same thing. Or is there a winner, a second place, a third place, and so on? And at the national level, we issue those based off of what Katie said of their application score, an in-person interview, their participation throughout the event, among other items. So if you are looking to issue a scholarship, you're going to want to have a structure in place from the beginning of how to rank those participants into those placings. Get to the next slide. So next will be the event itinerary. And this is something that we do have provided to you all in a Word document that you can edit and adjust as needed. But what we think are the important items to put on these itineraries that are then shared with the participants is going to be your date, of course, the location, so your city, state, the racetrack that you'll be at, and any contact information, your racing affiliate. It could be the host of the event, but a phone number and an email. We ask with our youth participants who we do chaperone, we are their point of contact, to save our numbers before they get to the event so that we can kind of touch base with them. Hey, did you make it? Or if they get lost, they can give us a call. So if you are looking for a participant, a limited number of participants for your regional event, I would highly recommend giving out a cell phone number or a phone number that you're going to be able to answer throughout the day. So not like a desk phone unless it's paired to your cell phone, but an easy contact number, an email. And if it's an open event, they don't have to call you if you get lost, but still a great way to put a contact information on this sheet front and center. Even though we still put the racetrack name on there, we put all the details as for that event location. We put the name, the address, the phone. If they have a website, we'll go ahead and link that website as well. We found this has helped for people to share this information and tell people exactly where it is. They can get a little bit of a heads up ahead of time of where they might be going and how to get there or any other events that that track is offering. If you are doing a multiple day event, and you're looking into having a hotel or a host hotel, so this is hotel as needed, as people might be traveling into your event. If that fits your template, then it'll be the same name, address, phone number, and a website if you have it for that hotel. We also like to include any participant information. This is, again, as needed if you are having a set number of participants. We have found that this helps the participants touch base with each other ahead of time and maybe see somebody they recognize, a friend of theirs, or talk to new youth who will be going through this regional experience with them. So we always like to put their name, their city, state. We won't ever release any personal information as detailed as an address or a phone number on an itinerary like this. That can be up to them to figure that out once you get there. But we would put their name, their city, their state, and then also arrival time and method of transportation. So if this, again, is going to fit that set participant template, and we like to know when they're coming in and how they're coming in. Is the host going to meet them at the airport, or are they meeting you directly at the racetrack or at the host hotel? Where is that point of contact or that drop-off point? When are they going to get there? So if they told you they would be there by 2 and it's 3 o'clock and you haven't heard from them, it'll kind of give you an opportunity to reach out and check on them because you know when they were going to arrive. So this is a quick screenshot of that Word document that is available to everybody of just how we organize this information I just mentioned. Everything is, you can just delete the word email, type in the appropriate email, delete the word cell phone, type in the appropriate cell phone contact number. So you don't even have to worry about organizing or where do I start. Just delete what this says and put in your information as it fits and as it would benefit your event. In the next part of the itinerary, once you get all the kind of information, the contacts, the who, what, when, where, whys, you can get to the actual event pieces of this itinerary. You will then move into the tentative schedule. So this will include a breakdown of each day's activities. You could even break this down really granularly if it's only a couple of hours. If you want to get that detailed, we recommend you can include location of where these might take place, what to wear, the type of attire. At our experiences, we take these youth into a variety of different places. So we always ask them to bring clothing as appropriate and provide them guidelines for that clothing, whether they're going to be in the barns in the morning and need a jacket, if it'll be cold. And then we move into a meeting and they're going to need a clean shirt for their meeting to then go back to the races that evening. So providing attire will save so many questions. That's something I always stress over going to a new event is what do I wear? So we encourage you to include that attire piece as well. Even if it seems a little common sense, it's easier to just put it on here and let them know. And then they know, you know, everybody's feeling good and confident about being prepared and what to wear. And then you can also include a brief description of that activity. A detailed schedule can be provided the day of event. If you are still working on some final pieces, we do this where we don't quite have that detailed schedule weeks out in advance. We will do our best to provide an overview, and then we will give them a hard copy detailed schedule when they get in person. And if we can email it to them as soon as it's done, even if it's the day before, I've still found that to be helpful for youth. So if you need to flex on this, there's really no deadline of when it needs to be sent. As things change, we all understand how that works. So send what you can ahead of time as a tentative schedule and then provide this detailed schedule the day of. So for clothing information and guidelines, as I kind of mentioned, it's great to provide an example of what to wear. That this will also make sure everybody's in dress code. If your track has a dress code or certain areas of the track have a dress code, if they need to wear closed-toed shoes, when they go to the barn, all those kind of details, especially if this is an open event to people who might not be as familiar with what they need to wear at a racetrack. So this bottom section of the slide in italics is a verbatim excerpt from our itinerary that we use to give them a description. So we ask them to check the weather, make sure you have footwear and a jacket. The mornings can be cold, bring layering items. So it can be sentenced, spelled out like this, or it can be bullet points as well. So here's that excerpt of the tentative schedule piece of the itinerary. So you can see the day of the week, month, day, midday, arrivals, afternoon, workshops. that evening overview of the weekend. So this is a very close representation of our schedule at the national level, but this can be tweaked to fit your needs. It can get even more detailed than this if that fits and works for you. But we found that this kind of information really helps everybody feel prepared and know what's coming as they step into this experience and this event. And this slide shows our excerpt of our clothing guidelines. So the previous slide was just that first paragraph, but we do provide a little bit more. And we also provide our official AQHY dress code if they need to refer to that as well. Some of this clothing information might be pertinent to your event, it might not. And that's the great thing about these, is that they're so customizable to what you need to get out of your event, what you want these youth to get out of it. So you might be wondering, how do you fill this itinerary? How do you fill this tentative schedule? What are good places to go? What should I experience? What do we want them to learn about? And there are so many opportunities. So this is just a quick list. I say it's quick, it's numerous bullet points of places that we have gone on our experiences. And we, even with a 3-day national experience, we do not always hit every single one of these items. So again, this is not you have to check off every single, the racing office and the track vet and the racing commission and the test barn and the jockey's room. But if you don't know where to start, this is a great place to consider all those different options. Some might be accessible, some might not be, just depending on when you're there or who's in the office. But we also, this is just a great place to start. I think some of my favorites are like Starting Gate. That is so exciting to me, to be right there with the starting gate. I also love hearing about the track veterinarians and that career path. Some really fun, different people. The stewards are always really interesting to talk to. If you get the chance to talk to owners or the trainer, that can give you a really neat opportunity to visit one-on-one with some people, or not one-on-one, but visit with these owners with your group. And I want to include too that also a part of your event can be talking about your affiliate and other programs that you might have. So this is, as we mentioned in the beginning, this is a great way to show different involvement opportunities within the racing industry, within your affiliate, or for other programs that you might have. You have a great captive audience that is there to learn. So take advantage of having those participants and those attendees at your event to share with them whatever else you want them to take away from this regional experience. When you are narrowing down or looking at where you're going to take everybody on these quote unquote stops, you just want to make sure to visit with each stop ahead of time and let them know when you're coming by. It can be a window of time, but giving them a heads up of when you'll be able to be there, or they can say, hey, if you're here at 7 o'clock, we can make it happen. And being able to work that into your schedule so that everything flows well that day of the event. You also want to make sure that there's enough room in each location. So depending on the size of your event, if it's an open event, some of these stops are not going to be as feasible unless you break them up into much smaller groups. Some places we go is a very small area within that office or within that testing room or the chart writer's room or the steward's room. And some are quite large where it doesn't really matter how much space you take up. So keep in mind that if you are going with a large group to a small space, that you can rotate them in and out, or you have 2 different places that they could go and then swap those 2 groups. So let's see what else. So yep, again, just want to emphasize, like, this might be people's first time interacting with your affiliate, and use that opportunity to get them involved.
Helen, would you mind, while you're talking about the experience, if I add a few comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So one thing I wanted to mention for anybody listening now or to the recording, in case you're not familiar with the racetrack, that the racetrack backsides are restricted area and are available to access by licensed individuals. So whoever's doing the planning will need to make sure that they either A, have passes, or whatever's required by the regulation of that particular jurisdiction so that you can get to the backside. And I've done 1-day experiences that can check a lot of those boxes if well coordinated with the staff at the racetrack, both the racing officials and the racing office staff. They are anxious and eager to implore their knowledge about the industry that we love to the young people. So they're very gracious with their time. It just takes a little coordination, as Helen mentioned, ahead of time. But know that passes are going to be a requirement to gain access to the backside.
Thanks, Janet. That's a great point. I appreciate that. Yes. So make sure as you're visiting with these stops, if you need any requirements to have access, we have found in our experience that, as Janet mentioned, these people want to have these attendees and these youth there learning more about this industry. And everybody is great to work with and happy. It just, as Janet mentioned, takes some planning ahead of time to get everything organized and rolling through to make sure that they see as much as they can while they're with you on these events. So we mentioned the educational materials a couple of times. These are provided online in 2 different places. The easiest place to find them is going to be just on our website at aqha.com /youth-racing-experience. And this includes a variety of materials, some history, some background knowledge about racing, some Skillathon study resources. That's going to be specific to our Skillathon that we host at the national level. Or if you want to incorporate a similar Skillathon, you could absolutely use those resources. How to read a sale catalog, glossary, so some terms and definitions. We have a sample application and interview rubrics. If you are looking to going in that direction of utilizing an application, we have those rubrics available. The sample experience itinerary, so the screenshots I grabbed earlier, that is provided as well as this yearling markup example. So lots of really great resources, and kind of within each one of those bullet points, you might find numerous resources. So just because you're looking at, how many is that, 7 bullet points, there's way more than 7 resources once you kind of dive into this material. So with that, I will hand it over to Julia.
Great. Thank you, Helen. So now that we've talked a little bit about what this event can look like and how it can greatly vary depending on your needs, I'm going to go ahead and focus a little bit on how it is that you can get youth to come to your event. So focusing a little bit on outreach and marketing strategies specifically. And a great starting point with that is always going to be determining your objectives in advance. Is your primary objective lead generation? So do you want to just gather contact information for folks, parents, adults, families, kids who may be interested in racing and or your affiliate specifically? Is your primary goal going to be just education and awareness? Perhaps you're not necessarily as interested in having their direct contact information. Is affiliate membership your ultimate goal? Knowing these objectives in advance will not only help guide you in how you might reach your target audience, but it will also help guide you in shaping what your event looks like, as well as the different areas and topics that you might talk about at the event. And so with that, your target audience could look many different ways. I know we've been talking primarily with youth focus in mind. And so with that, are you wanting to reach folks who are already horse knowledgeable, perhaps already involved, or are you wanting to reach completely new audiences who might not even know that they're interested in racing and might not even know that quarter horse racing in this instance is something that is offered? And so just some examples of some groups to consider reaching are 4-H groups, FFA, whether you target families, homeschool groups are another great area. And then schools, if you're just wanting to reach some more folks with with the education and awareness side of it. And again, this can look a variety of different ways depending on who it is that you're targeting. We found for a lot of our events that are specifically outreach focused, that we want to target kids who are already interested in horses, but might not already be involved within AQHA. And so that's typically our starting point, and we've had a lot of luck with that. And so with that, your target audience and knowing that will help guide your marketing strategy. So a great starting point is always going to be having a graphic. As to what that graphic looks like, completely up to you, but you will want to decide, okay, if this is something that's targeting a younger group of youth kids, it might look a little different than if you're targeting a slightly older audience. We have found that most of the times when we're talking about graphics and images and then how we distribute those, that to get youth engaged or involved in an event, we are typically specifically targeting our marketing towards parents, because parents are usually the ones who are registering their youth for events and for these different opportunities. And so keeping that in mind will help guide you and the direction that you put some of this into. I briefly touched on it, but social media can be used in a variety of different ways. We all know that Facebook is still pretty popular, especially within an older audience. Instagram is popular with a more younger audience. So if you're wanting to reach more of the young adults, perhaps, or slightly older youth audience, Instagram might be the way to go. You might want to try and do both so you cover all your bases. It can look so many different ways. A Facebook event can be a great starting point. Those are free of cost to create. You can invite targeted groups. You can even go join different Facebook groups and market your event there, just sharing that it's going on, it's coming up, a fun hashtag. And then depending on what opportunities you might have available, you might consider using some paid advertising and geo-targeting. And so those are all pretty low cost options and can be quite cost effective for you to help reach new folks who you might not even be aware of, but the social media algorithm is. And then from there, email is still a great tool to use. I wanted to take this moment and remind you that AQHA affiliates can request an email blast to everyone within their region, and that can be requested through our Director of Affiliates. And so that, again, is another free marketing opportunity that you and the affiliate may be able to take advantage of. Another one, if you've already got the graphic created, is to print and hang up flyers at local businesses that your target audience may visit, whether that's a feed store or tax store, or even attending another local event nearby, such as the last bullet point. And so helping spread the word and growing awareness for your upcoming event. And so with that in mind, we recommend implementing these marketing strategies a minimum of 30 days ahead of time, depending on the size of your event and how much planning and coordination it takes. Whether you're looking at a multiple day event that does have an application process to it, you probably want to have a little bit more time to market. That way your applicants have enough time to, one, be informed about the event, decide whether or not it's something they're interested in, and then still have enough time to submit the application. And then on the other side, giving the applicant reviewers the time to be able to review those, and then you selecting your participants. If it's a more open event or even a pre-registration event, that's maybe a little more of a one-day, half-day, couple hours, there, the 30 days is probably enough notice, but that could vary depending on the time of year that you're looking at. Keeping in mind that during the summer, many families are already making plans for their summer in early spring, late spring, depending on, and so you'll want to factor in the time of year as well into all of your decisions. But the opportunities for your outreach and marketing strategies are endless. there's so many ways to reach your different audience. You may take note of one strategy working better than another one, and don't feel like just because the one isn't working that you have to stay committed to it. This is kind of a great opportunity for you to be able to see what works, and if it doesn't, pivot on, focus on the path that does work, or even if it's something that lessons learned and you can apply it to the next event moving forward, and noticing the areas that went well and then the ones that didn't. And so my advice is don't be afraid to get creative, and being able to have that flexibility in your marketing. And with that, I will kick it over to Katie.
Perfect. Yeah, and in addition to everything Julia said about marketing, the other thing is if you do have the opportunity to ask your attendees how they heard about the event or who made them aware of it, that can help you kind of narrow down what's working and what's not if you don't already have a sense of that. And then the other fun thing about marketing is it seems like every time we kind of get something that starts to work, or, you know, figure out that everybody loves Facebook events, or people really like, you know, a mailer or whatever, then that will stop working. So as Julia said, just kind of stay flexible, stay creative, and understand that a good starting point is to do as much as you can and see what works and go from there. We did have a few minutes built in here before we wrap up. In case there's anybody on the call who would like to offer their experience hosting one of these in the past, or if there is anybody who'd like to bring forward a question. And while y'all are thinking about that, the other thing we can do with some of these questions is just kind of provide them to keep in mind for those who have hosted, to help mentor other folks, or to help them brainstorm ways for them to be successful. If you are looking to start one of these regional racing experiences and you would like to connect with somebody who perhaps has done this or something like it in the past, we can potentially help connect you with another affiliate, with some youth leaders, with someone from our youth board, with other racing affiliates. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So now that we've had a minute on this slide, is there anybody who has on here today who has hosted one of these that would like to say something, or is there anybody who has a question for us during our call today?
This is Bethany Kinney, and I'm associated with the Iowa Quarter Horse Racing Association at Prairie Meadows here in Altoona, Iowa. And we have hosted this for several years, and then up to the COVID period, of course, we stopped. But we have normally done it as a full 2-day event. Usually the youth would come in on a Friday afternoon, and then we'd have, you know, things going on that evening, and then all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and then they'd stay for the races, of course, on Saturday and Sunday as well. But what do the majority of these other regions do? Do they do a multi-day event? Do they just do a single-day event? The reason why I ask is because we've always done the multi-day event, but we kind of struggle with funds, because we try to provide, you know, the hotels, meals, that kind of stuff, and so forth. And then also, we've always done it, you know, like the first weekend of the racing, which to me, I think everybody's trying to get organized and things like that. So I'm looking at maybe moving it to some other dates. But I guess I'm just curious, what do the majority of the other ones do? Do they do multi-day or just a single day?
Bethany, I love the history of this event in Iowa. You all had Butch and Wayetta Hammer, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah, they were
And
wonderful.
they were just, yes, absolutely.
Yes, so you guys have a or have in the past had a pretty developed, kind of like legacy type program, which is incredible. I do think that this has looked a number of ways, and Janet, maybe you can jump in here too. But I think that this type of event has been imagined and reimagined a number of ways. And I absolutely, can feel for you with the challenge of a multi-day, undertaking. It is expensive and it is time consuming. And if you need to, think about that a little bit more creatively going forward to make it, attainable for y'all, I think that also can provide an opportunity to understand that, as we all know, families are also really busy, and it is very hard for families sometimes to commit multiple days for something like this. So it can be a strength on both sides to offer something that is more compact, if that, still will serve your interests as well. Janet, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I can speak to that based on my own experience. So both as a horseman and even since I've been in this role, I've been here at AQHA in this capacity for 9 years. And so I was involved as a horseman for 19 years. So I've seen both sides, and I've been involved with youth racing experiences at Sam Houston Race Park, at Lone Star Park, and at Remington Park up in Oklahoma. And all of them were one-day opportunities. And so what they would do is they would have the kids come early in the morning and they would do the barn area, and it would depend on the number of kids. When it was a select amount of kids, let's say 6 or 8, they would be assigned to horsemen and get some time in a particular horseman's shed row to mentor them. Then they would scoop them up and do things very similar to what we now do in the national experience. Then they would go to the racing office, and it would typically be an entry day, and they'd learn about that process. They'd learn about the stewards and all of that. And then during the quiet time at the racetrack, but the afternoon, the staff is still on hand back in the test barn and in the maintenance shed, and they would learn about all of that sort of management, and then have some time to freshen up and come to the races that evening. And in most of those cases, there was a suite, and they got to come and enjoy the races, answer questions, go down to the saddling paddock, have a winner's circle moment, and all of those sorts of things. So it was a full day, but it was a super productive.
Right. Okay. Good. Yeah, and that's exactly what we did too. Is we would split them up with the trainers, and of course they go everything from the jock's room, the vet, all that good stuff. We'd even take them upstairs to the stewards and see like the cameras and things like that and so forth. So, but I guess I was just curious to see if most people did it as a multi-day or a single day and stuff like that. So, thank you very much.
You bet.
Yeah, that's a great question. Are there any other questions or things for discussion today? Okay, well, we will put up on the screen our contact information, kind of to reiterate some of the online resources that we alluded to, as well as the contact information for the youth department and the racing department. Certainly, we are always happy to help you and hope to get to know y'all as individuals. We just kind of keep it to our general youth contact information so that you can always reach one of us. But with that, we are almost at the top of the hour. We so appreciate y'all spending a little bit of your afternoon with us and for your interest in this program. And we look so forward to working with you all to make this successful. So please let us know how we can help. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.